Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
It's hard to get stuff done when there's no one to do it for you.
Biggest value, the biggest marketing opportunity I think any photographer has is their existing client base.
Photos help us remember to remember.
Well, let's start with this, Scott. Why don't you tell me who you are and talk about yourself for a bit?
Sure. It's always weird to talk about yourself, but so my name is Scott Wyden Kivowitz. I am a photographer out of New Jersey. I've been a photographer since about the year 2000. And so, yeah, about 20 years. I photograph headshots, families, a lot of cake smash photos. They're very popular in my area. So I do a lot of those. And yeah, I mean, photography is my thing. I'm also the Chief Community Officer at Imagely, which we're going to be talking about a little bit today. So, yeah.
Well, dive into that a little bit too, since you've mentioned Imagely. Who and what is Imagely?
Yeah, Imagely is a WordPress development company. We make the most popular gallery plugin for WordPress called Next Gen Gallery. It has about a million active users. And with that, we have and that's free, by the way, free gallery plugin for WordPress. And with that, we also have a paid version called NextGen Pro, which offers proofing and e-commerce, digital downloads, manual print fulfillment, as well as automatic print fulfillment,
Very nice.
Is nice. And of course, it's with White House Custom Color. Additionally, we have WordPress themes. And we have a turnkey photography website solution all on WordPress that is currently in closed beta. And hopefully soon we'll be opening it up to external beta as well. And I don't know when a launch will be officially, but it's a great platform. so
talk
that's
about
Imagely in a nutshell.
Talk about talk about WordPress initially, and then let's dive more into Imagely, because I don't think people realize. There's a lot of people that have heard the name WordPress or heard of WordPress, those that aren't currently users. How big is WordPress?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people who are using WordPress who don't even realize they're using WordPress.
Right. That's kind of what I wanted to get to.
Yeah. I mean, to be blunt, even Wix, was it Wix or was it Weebly? Weebly, I think.
Weebly, yeah.
is WordPress. It was Weebly is literally a fork of WordPress that they then modified, and it's no longer WordPress. It started that way. So there's a lot of websites that are basically running this. There's also a lot of solutions outside the photo industry. For example, and I'll get back to this in a second, but there's a company called Carrot that does stuff for real estate industry people and businesses. And their entire platform is a WordPress platform, and you just wouldn't know it. It's completely white labeled. You would have no idea. Okay, so WordPress is the largest, most widely used website platform. It's a CMS, a content management solution.
Right.
It's used by over 35% of the internet. 35% of the internet is using WordPress, including Google, including Facebook, including Microsoft.
Right.
They are all using WordPress. And it started as a blogging platform, but it has evolved. It is now a true content management system. You can build anything you want, whether it's a website, whether it's a blog, whether it's an actual application. If you are familiar, at least in the United States, I don't know if they're international, the YMCA.
Right.
The YMCA is migrating from, and they've been doing this for the past couple of years, migrating from their own system to a complete WordPress solution, which means that when you go to check in to go to the gym, you're checking in through WordPress and you just don't even know it.
Right.
So WordPress is an application that is completely free to use. You can host it yourself on your own server, on your own computer if you want. Otherwise, you have to pay to have a host somewhere else. And so for the technical people, you don't have to pay a dime. For the non-technical people, you'll have to pay something to get the website live on the internet, of course.
Right.
So
and host it. So then in that context, so using that context, right, you have this massive application in WordPress that has just far-reaching fingers, right? And is essentially, he said 35%. That's just mind blowing to me. So it's enormous. So within that context now, talk about Imagely, because Imagely is specifically for galleries, basically for photographers.
Right. So WordPress is built as basically three parts. There's core. The core WordPress software does certain things. It allows you to create pages, create blog posts, organize it in certain ways with what's called taxonomies, and do other things similar to that kind of stuff. WordPress has something called themes, and themes are the look of your website.
Right.
Then they have something called plugins, which are the functionality of your website. So that might be a contact form. Right. That might be a gallery. That might be a booking solution. That might be a lead magnet type solution. It might be some SEO software that goes beyond what WordPress can do built in.
So what it looks like and what it does.
Correct. Two very different things, right? So the theme is only for looks. Plugins are for functionality. Mm-hmm. So Imagely makes themes for the looks, for photographers specifically, and then also plugins for functionality. And our functionality, we hope to eventually offer our own products for anything a photographer will need, let's say contracts or things like that. But in the meantime, we make gallery products. So built into WordPress, you've got a very, very, very simple gallery system built in where it's thumbnails and it's not organized in any way. All of your images are lumped into one big folder, basically unorganized. What we offer is something called Next Gen Gallery, which is a gallery management and gallery display solution. So you manage your galleries like you would in Lightroom. So you have, there's different terminology, but basically you have galleries, which are like Lightroom collections. And then you have albums, which are like Lightroom's collection sets. So an album can have other albums or galleries within it. So you can parent and child all of those into folders and subfolders, basically. Every gallery you upload is separated into its own folder. Your images are, you can upload them in full size, literally 300 DPI, full resolution, straight out of camera if you want. Upload them. We will resize it for the front end so your site still loads fast and display it however you want. We've got a variety of display options. And that backup file is there for security purposes, and it is protected, mind you. It's there for security purposes in case you double watermark your images accidentally, or you need to revert or change the front end size. We'll always work off the original. It's also used for the digital downloads and the print sales part of it. So digital downloads will be driven off of the original backup instead of the small one. And your prints will print from the original backed up image instead of the small one. So we're giving you way more than what the average gallery in WordPress or gallery plugin will do. We are going way beyond that. It's very advanced, and it's actually been tried and tested. It's the Next Gen Gallery existed before WordPress had its own gallery function built in. So that's how old. It's over 10 years old. Next Gen Gallery at this point. So
you guys essentially Next Gen is something that brings a lot of aesthetic options depending on what theme you want, right? And then a tremendous amount of functionality that doesn't exist within WordPress by itself.
Correct. Yeah. And we make it possible with our paid upgrade of our free software, we make it possible for photographers to drop non-WordPress based proofing systems and e-commerce systems and just use what they already have. So the branding of your website will be consistent because you're literally not sending anybody anywhere else. You're not using subdomains. You're not using subfolders. You're literally using your website as it is, and you get all the power and even the automated print fulfillment, which is it's a really beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing when you can integrate something like that.
I gotta tell you, I just have to share, when we first launched PrintLab integration, and I'm sorry if I go on, but you're gonna appreciate this so much. When we first launched PrintLab integration, and we were testing it internally before we launched, and my boss was like, here's a budget, just order a bunch of prints. We want to make sure everything comes out clear and how you expect it to come out. And, I've been using Lighthouse for a very long time, so I knew how the result would be. But I'll tell you, whether you order directly from White House, whether you order it through a Smug Mug or a Shoeproof or whatever, it is a very different feeling when that print comes from a WordPress site. And it's just, wait a minute. This isn't possible. Yet now it is, right? When it arrived, I was like, this came through my website. Like, it's mind blowing that
so great.
that it happens. It's so weird. So it was a very strange feeling that first time. So,
well, let's that's a nice segue into talking about the advantages of using a print lab like White House. That's you gave me a nice softball just to go from one to the other.
I try. So yeah, I mean, you could easily manually, fulfill your prints, whether you do it at home in your own studio, whatever, with your own printer, or you can send it off to a lab manually. But that's a process, right? Some photographers prefer it because they can really, really nitpick on everything and do what they need to. But when you can automatically fulfill it, it's saving you time and money. I mean, time is money, really. But at this, to print yourself, it costs a lot of money, right? Ink is not cheap anymore. While the printers might be getting cheaper in some aspects, those really big ones are not cheap.
Right.
And how fast you go through ink, it's just it adds up a lot. Plus, you now need the time of ensuring that you're constantly calibrating your monitor, calibrating the printer, and make sure it all matches and all that
maintenance. Oh, the headaches.
The maintenance. Oh yeah. Cleaning those machines all the time. Yeah. So it is a hassle. It really is. So being able to print through White House from your own website, with being hands off for the most part, because you can edit your photos with the White House's ICC profiles in Lightroom and Photoshop and whatnot ahead of time, and then upload that to your website. But the rest of it you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about printing it, maintaining it, shipping it, packaging it, all that stuff, and it comes white labeled. So it's not like it's coming from Imagely. It's not coming from Joe Schmo. It's coming from your photography business.
It's coming from you.
And it's,
right.
Yeah. So it's fantastic.
What sort of tips do you give to people regarding marketing, like marketing their prints in particular?
Yeah. I mean, depending on where you are, the type of photography you do, you either push prints heavily or you don't push prints heavily. Because if you're in a market where your customers are used to buying a session and then maybe ordering a print here and there, if you push prints in your marketing, it may not do you justice, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in a market where you can do it, my suggestion to everybody is to promote the prints in how you want people to buy them. So on your website, you should be displaying photos in your portfolio, not just as the photos. You should be displaying them in frames, on canvases, on your customers' walls.
Yes.
Literally displaying them how you want your customers to order them.
Yeah. Showing the finished product.
Yeah. Okay. Psychologically, people are going to say, okay, this photographer sells wall art. If I hire this photographer, I am buying wall art. I am not just buying digital files. Now, Next Gen Gallery does not have a feature to do the mock-ups. Eventually, we hope to get there. Right. But in the meantime, you could use White House's tools, the iPad, right? There's the iPad app that you can literally mock it up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of apps out there and software out there to do that. You can just do it in Photoshop. There's so many ways that you can do it. But I think that's the most important thing you can do to market prints in any market that will be successful in marketing prints. And you have to know your market in order before you do that.
It's a great simple solution. It's so funny. I haven't heard a lot of people push that really hard. And yet I feel like it's just common sense. Show the final product, right?
Yep.
Everybody shows images on their website, but show the final product as well, and the installation and where it lives and everything, so that people can get a better idea of what to expect, right?
Yeah, yeah, and don't want to use White House's app or any other services out there. And I might get a lot of hate for this, but you can go to a stock site like Unsplash, do a search for room, right? Find a stock room that, and use that room, throw your photo up on the wall, and you've got a simple one, and it didn't cost you a dime, really,
or take a picture of your own couch. I mean, we've done that ourselves. It's so funny. Like, you just take the image that's up there down, take a picture of the couch with the blank wall, and then all of a sudden you have a wall. You have a room to use, right?
And if you want to be strategic about it, you contact your existing clients that purchased wall art already, and you say, if you let me come and take a photo of your room with the wall art on it, I'll give you $25 credit to your next session.
Sure.
Now you're getting them to want another session,
and they're coming in again.
You're getting the photo that you need. Yep.
So in that relationship piece, that always makes me think about. So I think about social media, right, and the way that we're interacting online, and from a marketing standpoint too. Talk about social media growth and using it for automation to help you grow those pieces.
Yeah. I am big on what I like to call semi-automated social media. And I call it semi because you aren't automating everything. You still need to be available to answer people, to engage with people as needed. But we as photographers have too many other things to worry about than to be posting all the time everywhere. And there's a lot of places to be posting, right? So I'm a fan of using services like Meet Edgar or Buffer or Later, services like that allow you to schedule your social posts on all the different platforms and be hands-off on the initial posting, right? And so I personally use Buffer. I use it for my own photography. I use it for Imagely. But photographers use a wide range of things. Sure. And what is nice is that I can add to my queue, and I don't have to think about it later. But there's also a WordPress plugin. There's a free version, and there's also a paid version. Imagely doesn't make it. I pay for it myself to be used. It's called WP to Buffer Pro. And it allows me to, as a new blog post or a new page gets published, you can fine tune the settings to add to your buffer queue. And then again, I'm publishing a blog post. I'm taking the time to write the blog post, which takes the most time. And then once I hit publish, everything I already configured in the plugin, it sends it all to Buffer at that configuration. And it's going out to all my different social channels automatically. And I do the same thing for Google My Business, which is extremely important. Buffer doesn't have that yet, but there's a plugin. I forgot what exactly it's called, but it does the same thing, but to Google My Business. So I publish a new blog post, and it gets posted to Google My Business as a new post with the photo that I designated, and I can even do it recurring. So every month that something gets reposted. So there's always something fresh, which is important to Google for SEO. So that's what I mean by semi-automating. You're automating the initial, and then you're following up manually as people are engaging with that content. And that engagement and the constant pushing to social is helping your local citations, is helping your social growth, your social engagement. It's extremely important.
Well, and really a big piece of it is about saving you time. You mentioned earlier how time is money, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to schedule things out and then to do it in blocks where then you have periods of time where you don't have to think about that and you have the time to do other things. Because I think at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line, right? I wanted to ask you regarding the bottom line in particular, considering time is money. Talk about, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier regarding products too, which I didn't know you were going to mention. That's a fantastic suggestion to actually show products. But talk about prints. Talk about prints a little bit. Especially in the context of Imagely and NextGen, where you have the session fee, right? And I get a lot of people like to even charge more upfront for a session fee, and they consider that their revenue. But talk about print sales and product sales on top of that.
Yeah. So again, it depends on the genre, right? And your competition, your local competition and whatnot. But so let's say you're doing headshots and you have a session fee. Your session fee for a headshot most likely doesn't include any prints because headshots these days, it's very rare that you actually need a print. Most of the time it's being used for something digital.
Right.
So you're not necessarily going to promote prints up front, but you might have it as an add-on later on in your gallery, right? So for me, for headshots, I have a $300 session fee, and then it's $75 per selected image that they want me to edit and that they want as a digital, file to use for all their marketing efforts. Right. And then in that gallery where they can buy the image, they can also order prints if they want. It's going to be rare, but that's why as an upsell, it's there as an upsell sort of in the background, but it's not something I'm going to promote for the headshots because it's not something that they're going to buy. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to cake smash sessions or family sessions, it's completely different. I charge a session fee that actually already includes an 8x10 wall-ready print. And I actually do the standout because I find, and tell me if you agree or not agree, but I find that as for a product to include in a session fee, standouts are probably one of the best you can do because one, they're already wall mountable, and two, they're actually really inexpensive. It's literally just a paper on foam that has a hole in it to hang, right? It's nothing, there's not much to it.
Right.
But to the client, it looks really fancy, especially if you get one of the nice borders or whatever.
It's a high value product in that way, I think, right? Like you get a lot aesthetically for what you're paying for.
Yep. So if you include a product in your package that is already something that is for the wall, you can now show you're showing the examples of additional wall art, and you're also giving them the option. You can even show them your print prices up front if you have a PDF or you do it on the website, whatever it is. And you're sort of pushing the fact that wall art is what you do. It's not just digitals, right? And in order to push the wall art more, you could do things like give the small Facebook ready, and I use air quotes for that, Facebook ready sized images, small 1,000 pixel images, whatever, of the final images, the final 10 images or whatever. But a lot of clients now these days, they want the digitals. So give them the digitals when they order wall art. Yes. When they order a print, give them the high-res digital. They can then print, whatever they want down the road if they choose, or they want to archive it or something like that. Right. So that's ways that you can upsell by sort of pushing people, whether it's direct or indirect, like that method, push people towards wall art. And I do that indirect method a lot with my families and my cake smashes. Is I will, I do the wall art, the standout included, and then I'll give the high res digitals when they buy additional wall art.
When they purchase it, right. That's a great, I think that's a great system too. I've seen that work for a lot of people. Tell me this, what are some things that we can expect to see from Imagely? Is there anything you can give me a taste? Little teaser?
So Imagely's, our developers work in what's called development sprints. So it's like 1 month sprint where you work on a bunch of bug fixes or features or whatever, push them out. There's like a week or two, a period in between while you plan the next sprint, and then there's another month of development. And that's how you get big chunks of quality releases in a very consistent time frame.
Sure.
We are getting close to the next sprint, and what they're looking at doing for the next sprint is actually adding metal prints, like the actual print on metal, and acrylic prints to NextGen Pro's integration with White House Custom Color.
Very good.
So that I'm very excited for. And I don't normally, for myself, I don't normally print on paper. I usually print on either canvas, metal, or acrylic.
Right.
We already have canvas in there, so I'm, I'm excited for the rest.
Yeah, you got the other two.
Yeah. So something that a lot of people don't know happened back in March when the whole COVID-19 thing started. When a lot of businesses were closing, we were actually in the process of being acquired. So it was really weird timing. It actually, the whole banks being closed thing did delay everything a little bit. But back in March, we were acquired by the CEO of EnviroGallery. So EnviroGallery is one of the other popular gallery plugins for WordPress. It's a very different model than NextGen Gallery. I can explain that after. But EnviroGallery is also very well built, very feature rich, has a lot of comparable features to NextGen Gallery. And the plan is also down the road to take the lab integration we have in NextGen and add it to Enviro as well.
Nice.
So for anybody on WordPress who's using Enviro instead of NextGen, eventually you'll also have the same capabilities without having to switch over. You'll be able to get that as well.
That's really good news. It sounds like there's great things coming down the pike. Scott, thank you for your time today. This was awesome. I give people the details on where to go on the web to see Imagely in the NextGen galleries.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very easy. Just go to imagely.com and you'll see all the information there. If you go to imagely.com/WHCC, you'll see information about the integration, the lab fulfillment, and that's where you'll get everything. And install NextGen Gallery if you haven't already, because there's a nice discount if you do.
Nice. I like that. I like that news too.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun chatting.
All right, have a good one. Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right. Right there. It's there somewhere.